Let's talk about ad costs and more particularly how to make advertising work for your business. Many people are understand the key thing that we keep trying to tell, which is, hey, advertising is an amazingly powerful way to run your business. If you can make it so that you can run ads to get leads that buy at a profitable rate, then you've got yourself a holy grail of business, because you can just keep doing that over and over again. You don't have to rely on things like the search engines making changes on you, social media turning against you, your audience getting bigger or smaller on social media, all those kinds of things. Just running ads is the holy grail. All right. So there's a couple of things that you need to understand in this process that I've discovered that a lot of people don't really understand. So I thought I'd discuss it completely. So first one is cheaper leads may not be a good thing. So I fairly consistently see somebody post in Facebook, hey, I did this ad and it's getting me leads at $3.63. Is that good? Is that bad? Or somebody else will come on and say, hey, I've got this thing where I'm getting it at 83 cents a piece. And everybody goes, what are you doing? And every time I see that, I just have this piece inside that cringes and dies a little bit, because people who are looking just at lead costs are missing the most important part of the entire equation, which is this: your advertising costs need to be measured not just at the initial lead, the sign up for your opt-in incentive or the webinar registration or whatever. Ad costs need to be measured all the way through to purchase. That's the only way you can determine whether one ad or one platform or one audience is better than another. So let's say you spend $1,000 on this ad and you spend $1,000 on this ad. This ad makes you $2,000. This ad made you $1,200. Which one's better? But what if this one gave you leads at 83 cents a piece and this one gave you leads at $5 a piece? Which one's better? Well, this one's still better. Even though it gave leads at a higher cost, it gave a higher number of purchases for the same amount of spend. That's the important thing. You've got to look at your total spend versus your total purchases, not just initial lead costs. So let's use this example. Let's say you're advertising a webinar, and Facebook ads, you're getting $3 per sign up. And then of that, you get about a third of them who show up. And so it's costing you $10 per attendee at that webinar. Okay. So very realistic, actually probably low right at this moment, given the iOS 14. Now consider this. Let's say you also run ads on YouTube. On YouTube, it costs you $5 a sign up and $15 per attendee. But here's what happens. And so initially you would say, oh, YouTube ads failed me. I'm not running any more money on YouTube. But if the YouTube people buy twice as much as the Facebook people, the YouTube group wins by 33%. Actually, I may be wrong on that math. The YouTube ad won significantly. Okay. So once again, you can't look at $3 per sign up versus $5 per sign up, $10 per attendee versus $15 per attendee. What you've got to do is you've got to look at how much did I pay for each person who purchased. That's the only number that really matters in the end. And the interesting thing is I just compared Facebook to YouTube, but the exact same thing applies if you look at different audiences on Facebook. So I can virtually guarantee if you came to me and you said, okay, I'm running this campaign that's getting leads in for $3.50 in to sign up for my opt-in incentive, I can almost guarantee that I can take that to less than $1. I'll tell you how to do it. Just include India and Bangladesh in your audience. And all of a sudden, your lead cost is going to plummet. Want to make it even cheaper? Include some countries in Africa. Now, the problem is those people that are coming in for significantly cheaper, and there's absolutely nothing against those countries, but what we found is if you're running a high-end offer, $1,000, $2,000 offer, the people who are coming in from those countries are not going to buy anywhere close to the same rate that the people who are coming from higher income countries. So, yes, I can get you leads for cheap, but they're not leads who are going to buy. And so this same thing we talked about Facebook versus YouTube, apply that with audience A versus audience B. And by the way, the same thing happens with different ad copy too. So here's ad copy A, maybe it's long form. Ad copy B is a video. Which one wins? The only way to tell is which one converted through to a sale at a higher level in the end. So in order to be able to do this, you need to approach advertising from a more strategic way of looking at it. So there's a couple of things that you need to do. The first one is you need to measure at each stage of the conversion process all the way through to the sale. Second thing, set a budget and spend it, even if the initial lead cost is higher. So let's say you're going all in on a launch. And so you spend $15,000 on YouTube and $15,000 on Facebook. Day 3, YouTube is bringing you leads at 50% higher cost per lead than Facebook is. Is it bad? You don't know yet. You've got to go all the way through to sale to measure that, which brings up the next piece. Build a quick funnel to test this. So one of the challenges that a lot of people have is they don't have a product yet. They're trying to build a list, so they've got a list to be able to market that product to. They know that they're not going to have the product for 3 to 5 months, but they're building a list right now, which I really want you to do. But they're not going to know what is profitable all the way through to sale for 3 to 5 months down the road. Well, unfortunately, you've got to take a bit of a flyer when you're in that situation. When you're going from 0 to 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000 people on your list, you've got to do some of that. But eventually, once you get past your initial launches and you know what it costs you to actually get a purchase and those kinds of things, you need to develop some kind of a quick kind of funnel so that you don't wait 3 to 6 months to figure out whether this ad spend that you spent on $15,000, for example, was profitable or not. You can't wait 5 months to figure that out. You need to run them through a quick funnel to be able to figure that out. Next, initially, use one ad source to figure out your base metrics. So you need to know that on average, a person who signs up for my webinar is going to cost me this, a person who attends is going to cost me that, and a person who buys is going to cost me this. Use one ad source to do that measurement right out of the gate. And only then, once you've got that and you've run it through a number of times and you've got those metrics nailed down, only then do you test other offers, ads, audiences, ad sources against that to figure out if they beat it or not. In other words, in the old direct marketing world, we called one the control, which is here's something that we know it's reliable that it continues to deliver this way. The other one is the test. And so, for example, you may want to use Facebook ads as your control, and then later come in and do YouTube ads against it as the test to see which one wins. All right, and while we're at it, make sure your tests are realistic. I was going, what is that word? Make sure your tests are realistic. In other words, don't do a test that never would be replicated in the real world. You want that test to be as real to what normally would happen as possible. And make sure you're also doing apples to apples. So for example, let's say you're doing a live webinar and you decide, I'm going to take this live webinar that's going to run on August 1st, and that one's going to be my Facebook ad. I'm going to run another one on August 15th, and that's going to be a YouTube ad. Well, wait just a minute. If that's going to be a live webinar, your presentation between those two live webinars is not going to be the same. You're going to be a little more enthusiastic. You're going to say just the right thing in one of them. You're going to say just the wrong thing in the other. Those kinds of things all influence the results. So the only real way to do this is to do something that is apples to apples. Like, for example, you run both those audiences against the same webinar. So that way there is no variable in how you present it because you presented the exact same webinar to both of them. Or you send them to an evergreen webinar or something like that. Keep it so that you can compare it directly between the two. And then the final piece, which is the hard one for almost all of us, including me when I'm just starting to run a new ad test, is to make sure you spend enough to get accurate results. So you can't test ads all the way through to conversion for $100. Can't do it. Not in today's environment. You really can't do it for $1,000. You really need to be in the $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 range to be able to really, truly test ads. And I know you're going, I can't do that. All right. That's why we go back and we establish using one ad source, your baseline. You work on that. You consistently are testing and trying to improve that so you get to the point where you're profitable. Then you use the profits from that to fund your next test of your new ad, your new audience, your new ad source. That's the way you do it all. So, all right. So I'm sure that I just disappointed a few people. I'm sorry, but I'd rather have you hear the facts from somebody who's lived it than have somebody say, oh, you can spend $3 a day on ads and get this ad world that's going to be paying you money while you're asleep. Well, guess what? No, you're not. $3 a day on ads is going to get you one lead a day, which means in a month you get 30, which isn't enough to be able to do anything with. So it's just not going to work that way. All right. So what's your thoughts? What's your concerns? What's been your experience? Share them. Share your questions with me in the comments, and I'll get back to you. This is Don Crowther saying, just go do this stuff.